International law is one of these things, it's a little bit like the air, where it's everywhere. We don't really notice it. So when you get on a plane and you fly to Europe, the ability to get on that plane, cross over the airspace of other countries, sometimes you see the little map when you're in the plane and it shows you're crossing over Greenland or whatever. All of that is governed by international law in different ways. Different treaties are in place to take care of all the questions that might arise about aviation. So that's a really mundane example. And then at the other extreme, we've got much more contentious examples, like let's take the war in Iraq. So as most of us remember, in the run-up to the war, the Bush administration went to the Security Council at the United Nations and tried to get a second resolution. And they're doing that because there's a legal framework in place that governs the ability of countries to enter into armed conflict. So between those two bookends, a zillion other examples, but I think the thing to recognize about international law is in a globalized world, in an integrated world, you're constantly dealing with things that are crossing borders or you're crossing borders, and international law is usually playing some role in shaping that. The most common thing are treaties, and most of us are familiar with, I mentioned aviation. There are treaties governing that. The UN itself was created by a treaty. So treaties are kind of the backbone, a little bit like we think of statutes in the domestic context. But we do have something like common law. We call it customary law. So a good example would be the law of the sea. It's all kinds of rules about ships and their ability to go on the high seas and who can board and where they can cross. Most of that is governed by custom. And the idea is this custom kind of accrues over time, like the common law becomes entrenched and accepted as law. And then there's also courts, right? So we have the International Court of Justice, sits in The Hague. We've got a series of other courts, right? The World Trade Organization has a court and so forth. So there's a set of judicial institutions, much like in our domestic system. So in a lot of ways, it's a very similar system. There isn't, I suppose, a constitutional equivalent. There isn't a kind of grand governing thing, but there are literally tens of thousands of treaties. So a surprising amount of topics are covered. There are a whole wide set of international organizations. So, from the United Nations being the most broad, the most elaborated, probably the most famous. World Trade Organization is a little more specialized, and then you've got dozens and dozens and dozens, thousands probably, of these subsidiary international organizations, international, maritime organization dealing with law of the sea questions, and so on down the line. And these have been created over the years. Some of them date back to the 19th century, but for the most part, that's a kind of 20th century phenomenon. So one of the things we see in the last century or so has been, one, the rise of these international organizations, the UN being the paramount example, and two, the use of treaties. Treaties existed in the past, but when we talked about custom and common law, that was much more common. Now we tend to codify that in a treaty. So those two things are sort of two major trends of the last century. Have a treaty, for example, in which every country is a member of that treaty and so would be governed by that. And in fact, we have lots of treaties that are pretty close to that, in which you've got virtually every single country. The Convention on the Rights of the Child, I think, is a good example where only the United States and Somalia, when I last checked, were not parties to that treaty. The United Nations Charter comes pretty close, right? So virtually every country, Switzerland for a long time was a holdout, virtually every country is part of the UN system and so governed by the rules of the UN Charter. So there's no barrier to that, and we do see it.
The Bureau of Internal Revenue, or BIR, admits having difficulty in determining if small and medium enterprises are paying proper taxes. According to the BIR, they can ensure that employees are paying proper taxes, as it can be done automatically, unlike those who are self-employed or those with businesses.
Pero ang self-employed, voluntary po. We rely on their voluntary filing and payment.
However, with the implementation of the tax reform law, the BIR is confident that many self-employed will pay their taxes. Based on the train law, small-medium enterprise owner and the self-employed have the liberty to choose the manner in which they pay their taxes. Under the tax reform, all self-employed and businesses earning below 3 million pesos yearly should pay an 8% tax or through a graduated income tax rate.
Basta on gross receipts mo, 8%. So mas madali. File ka, wala ka nang alalahanin kundi likom-likumin mo at ipon-ipunin yung mga gross na kinita mo, gross receipts mo. Dito sa isang option is gross receipts na ipon deduction pa.
The BIR says the process has been easier under the train law. That's why they are expecting more tax payments. For Maricar Cruz, who owns a laundry shop, she is glad with the tax reform the government implements. She vows to always pay her taxes on time.
Okay naman yung 8%, pero sana makatulong din yung 8% na yon na binabayad namin para sa ikagagaan ng lahat.
However, Laban Consumer President Vic Dimagiba says although the process has been simplified, small-medium enterprises could not hugely benefit from the tax reform law.
Basketball na sila, sigurado yun. Hindi sila makikinabang. Bayad din sila. Papasa din na lahat ang babayaran ng mataas na gasolina, mataas na power, lahat yan.
The BIR says everyone might feel burdened because of the tax reform, but notes that many will benefit in the long run. The additional taxes the agency will collect because of the tax reform will be allocated to the projects of the government that will further improve the Philippine economy.
In 16 years old ako nag-umpisa manigarilyo. Tinigman ko, hanggang ngayon, hindi ko na mapigilan.
18 years old, nag-start ako mag-sigarilyo. College kasi kami noon sama sa barkada.
In the Philippines, just about anyone can buy, sell, or smoke a cigarette. For decades, cigarettes have been incredibly accessible and affordable.
Sa Amerika, pag bumili ka ng isang pack na sigarilyo, mga $4 200 pesos. Samantalang dito, noon 20 lang ang isang kaha.
Cigarette prices are so cheap, a pack used to cost less than a kilogram of rice. A stick can be bought for less than the price of cheap candy. Smoking is so prevalent that almost 3 out of 10 Filipinos smoke. Every hour, 10 Filipinos die due to tobacco-related diseases. Every year, 87,600 lives are lost due to smoking. The fight to reduce smoking in the country had not been easy.
I'm making a motion to for the Senate to take up the RH bill first, and I will present my amendments.
We're supposed to take up the sin tax bill.
1 minute suspension. Can I have 1 minute suspension?
Well, before the suspension, Mr. President, I have to place it on record. I object.
But in January 2013, Republic Act 10351, also known as the Sin Tax Law, took effect. This landmark law is seen as a major victory by health advocates because it aims to decrease consumption of tobacco and alcohol while raising more revenues for health programs.
There was a need to pass a tobacco tax reform because the previous system was really problematic. It imposed very low taxes on tobacco products in significant rates, and all these weaknesses provided for a system that is conducive to the tobacco industry and provided for an environment in which the Philippines has been recognized as having one of the lowest prices of cigarettes in the world.
Pushing for the passage of the Sin Tax Law in the Philippines was a collective effort by advocates from government agencies, international organizations, civil society, and health groups, all working together to achieve one goal. One of the groups that advocated the passage of the Sin Tax Law is the Southeast Asia Initiative on Tobacco Tax, or SIT project, a regional effort to institute effective tobacco tax increases and sustainable funding mechanisms.
prior to the SIT project, there was no unified position among stakeholders on what should be included in the tobacco tax reform. Furthermore, the SIT project also provided research and media campaigns in order to support the tobacco tax reform.
It was a difficult battle with opposition from cigarette and alcohol manufacturers. Despite the challenges, the sin tax bill was signed into law in December 2012. The law provides for a two-tiered tax structure that would annually increase the price of tobacco and alcohol products until 2017, after which a single tax rate will be implemented. 85% of the incremental revenues of the sin tax law will go to the Department of Health, while 15% of the incremental revenues will go to the Department of Agriculture to support alternative livelihood programs for tobacco farmers. In 2013 alone, the government collected 51.2 billion in incremental revenues, a 50.7% increase over the original target of 33.95 billion.
This also made possible the upgrade of the Philippines to investment grade by the major credit rating agencies. With respect to public health, there was a significant increase in the budget of the Department of Health, a 57% increase over 2013 levels.
The additional budget from sin taxes will be used by the Department of Health to fund different health programs.
The biggest chunk will go to the National Health Insurance Program, medical assistance, followed by the enhancement of different health facilities. Other funds will go to the different prevention and control strategies, expanded program for immunization, and deployment of health human resources to far-flung areas.
In terms of bringing down the number of smokers in the country, a recent survey by the social weather stations in March 2014 showed that smoking amongst the poorest Filipinos has dropped from 38% in December 2012 to 25% in March 2014. Among the youth aged 18 to 24 years old, smoking has also decreased from 35% in 2012 to only 18% in 2014.
Dati, nung medyo mura pa yung sigarilyo, sa buong maghapon, nakakaisang kaha. Ngayon, medyo nagmahal. 10 stick na lang yung nagagawa ko maghapon.
Nabawasan po siya ng mga pagka tuwing maninigarilyo ko sa isang araw, minsan 5 beses, 6 na beses. Ngayon, 3 na lang talaga.
This will eventually lead to a decline as well or decrease in the number of risk factors associated with non-communicable diseases or lifestyle-related diseases.
But not all smokers could easily drop the habit. Others resorted to cutting down consumption or shifting to lower-priced brands.
Yung mga barkada ko po dati, yosin nila Marlboro. Ngayon po, dahil sa tumas na yun, dumoble, binaba din po nila yung kalidad ng nila, sigarilyo. Yung mas mura po.
Alongside raising tobacco prices, there's a need to raise people's awareness about the harms of smoking. The signing of the graphic health warning law in July 2014 is a major step forward in achieving this. Strong health promotion programs are also needed to protect those who are being lured to try smoking.
There are many ways wherein health promotion can really reduce tobacco use. One such thing is to really do health promotion among young people. We do not want newcomers, particularly 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14 years old, to enter the pool of smokers in the country.
Health promotion can be used to prevent not only diseases from tobacco use, but other lifestyle-related diseases as well.
Health promotion ensures there will be behavior change towards health and wellness. In the field of non-communicable diseases, we are now getting more deaths from heart disease, from cardiovascular diseases like hypertension, and coupled with that diabetes, and in also kidney diseases.
In the case of Thailand, they were able to develop powerful campaigns through the creation of the Thai Health Promotion Foundation.
Think of a child entering school, whether this is preschool, kindergarten, or even grade 1. This child would be subjected to a barrage of what they call non-healthy behaviors. It may mean eating junk foods, going to fast food, shunning away from vegetables and fruits. We need to constantly remind this child throughout his or her development. If health promotion is only for a day, only for a week, then that is not sustainable. We need sustainable mechanism for health promotion programs to empower the people to be responsible for their own health. We have taken the first crucial steps towards the right direction. We hope that the country continues to move forward to ensure the health of all Filipinos.
You no doubt know the JanSport brand, known for its superior quality and out-of-this-world customer service. But what you might not know is its history. And as if quality and customer service alone weren't enough to make you fall in love, wait until you hear the JanSport story.
Hey, look, there's a JanSport.
Meet Skip Yao, one of the founders.
40 years later, I still get really excited when I see product on people's backs all over the world.
Skip writes in his book, The Hippie Guide to Climbing the Corporate Ladder and Other Mountains, that the history of JanSport plays out much like a movie. A small family business armed with an idea works out of a transmission shop and ultimately becomes one of the world's most recognized brands.
We were just hoping to, survive and really turn it into a business and not have to get another job.
Skip's cousin Murray had visions of building a better frame pack and selling them to climbers. He invented the frame and asked his girlfriend Jan to sew the pack. In exchange, he'd name the company after her.
She didn't blink a second.
But she had to marry him too.
It's always fun to see somebody say, "Oh, you're Jan of JanSport," and see Jan with a big smile.
Having a strong love for the outdoors, products were born out of their own needs. Like when they got caught in a blizzard in Washington's Cascade Mountains. Only one picture was taken before the camera froze in the 5 below temperatures. And they nearly froze too. Their traditional A-frame tent wasn't cutting it.
Our zipper broke in the front of the tent and we couldn't keep our stove lit. And the aluminum pole on the inside was whirling around like a helicopter, and Jan thought she was going to die.
What they needed was an igloo. What they invented was the dome tent.
You could move it, you could turn it upside down to shake out the dirt. It held up in high winds, there's a lot of room.
An industry revolutionized by 3 self-proclaimed hippies. As Skip tells it, they had no business plan, no special training, even less money, no store. Just Murray's innovative design, Jan's skill, and Skip's instincts and love of people.
Our passion was living our lifestyle and turning it into a business.
Founded in 1967 on the principles of getting out and discovering life for yourself. To own JanSport is to own a piece of Americana, to own a piece of a dream.
Tunay ngang there's a rainbow after the rain para kina Jane. Matapos kasing lubugin ng baha ang kanilang mga paninda, nakakuha pa sila ng milyong pisong halaga ng kontrata sa paggawa ng bag. Sa laki ng nakuha nilang project sa isang pharmaceutical company, nakapag-expand sina Jane ng kanilang bag factory.
So yung kontratang yun ba ang nagbukas sa'yo para talagang maging factory ka na?
Opo, kasi nakapagdagdag po ako ng makina. Kumbaga po yung kinita ko doon, ma'am, itinabi ko rin kasi ang bag po kasi ay seasonal. Kailangan meron kang savings para pang pasahod mo sa mga tao mo. Tapos yung anak ko naman po nagkaroon siya ng kaibigan. Parang sumunod naman yung Green Hills.
At nasundan pa ito ng iba pang mga order.
Yung school po, nag-order sa amin ng bag.
Ilan na ang in-order?
Pag nag-order po sila hanggang 300 lang, kaya lang medyo tumagal-tagal po yung bag. Nahinto lang po yun nung umalis na yung anak ko pumunta ng Canada. Oo. Yung contact po niya doon, nag-resign kaya hindi na po kami nakakapagpatuloy.
2006 nang itayo ni na Jane ang Mariveles Bag Makers Multipurpose Cooperative na naglalayong tulungan ang mga maliliit na bag makers. Merong 600 miyembro na ngayon ang kanilang co-op at kalahati nito ay bag makers.
Anong ginagawa ng co-op para makatulong sa mga gumagawa po ng bag?
Ngayon po, marami na po kaming services sa co-op. Meron na po kaming lending, meron po kaming pautang na bigas, materialis ng bag. Pag gusto naman po ng customer is embroidery, meron na po kaming embroidery machine. Tapos, itong lately po, mayroon po kaming bagong tayong negosyo na paggawaan ng hollow blocks. Kaya medyo malago na po ng yung aming kooperatiba sa ngayon.
Pero yung kooperatiba nyo, bumibili ng raw materials na tela.
Opo. Nag-o-order po kami sa Chinese supplier po namin. Dalawa po yung aming supplier, mga Chinese po sila.
Dahil sa co-op, sama-samang umaangat ang kabuhayan ng mga miyembro.
Malaki pong naitutulong po ng co-op sa akin kasi po dati nagtrabaho po ako sa dating panapasukan ko ng 5 years, halos wala po akong naipupundar. Pero ngayon po, halos magti 3 years pa lang po ako dito sa may co-op, malaki na pong naitutulong na sa akin. Tsaka kahit papaano po, medyo may naipon-ipon na rin po ng mga gamit ko. Parang hindi na po ganong mahirap po yung sa financial ko po siya kasi sa anak ko lang po parang hindi na po ako nagagilap kung saan-saan pa. Parang medyo malaki na po talaga yung pinagbago ko.
Isang magandang project nga raw talaga ng gobyerno, ang One Town, One Product.
Malaki ba ang naitulong ng One Town, One Product?
Opo ma'am, malaki. Kasi katulad po ng ako, nakakarating na ako sa Manila. Pero yung mga bagong maliliit na mga mananahi po, na hindi kayang lumuwas ng Manila, hindi kayang hanapin yung mga supplier na mga mura, nagkaroon po, dumami po bigla yung mga mananahi dahil po sa co-op namin. Kasi doon na lang po, pag may pera po silang 200, may order silang isang bag, makakabuo na po sila ng bag. Doon na lang sila bibili ng material. Kaya malaki po yung inangat ng business ng bag sa Maribeles dahil po sa co-op.
Kaya mula sa belt bag, briefcase, at backpack, ngayon marami ng iba't ibang klaseng bag sina Jane. May tote bag at travel bag na rin sila.
Ang belt bag na ganito, gaano katagal bago matapos?
Ay, nung pong nagsisimula po ako, yung isa nito, hindi ko pa po matapos maghapon.
Oo, ngayon, kung magaling yung sewer,
mga 7 po, kaya po niyang yariin sa 8 oras.
Oo. Ang belt bag na ganito, magkano benta nyo?
Ngayon po, ang benta po namin yan is 220.
Wow!
Pag wholesale po, 180.
Ito, iba't iba na siya. Meron kang backpack, meron kang regular bags. Ang ganda naman ito, isipin nyo. Wow, eto ma'am, saan nyo ito nabibenta?
Mabili po ito sa Mega Mall po, sa Glorieta.
Ang galing. So, nagbibenta na kayo sa Mega Mall, Glorieta ngayon?
Yearly po, meron pong trade fair ang DTI.
Oo.
Pinapadala po nila ako doon. Nagdi-display po kami doon. Doon po kami nakakakuha ng mga customer.
Oo.
Katulad ng pandayan.
Ang ganda ng quality, no? Ito pag ganito, nakakakompetensya na ba tayo sa China?
Ay, opo. Ang hindi lang po natin kayang kompetensya ng China po yung price nila.
Bakit? Gaano ka bababa?
Mababa po sila. Katulad po sa backpack, mayroon po silang tig 100.
Nay!
Opo.